Good late morning, everybody. I am going to enjoy this. I get to take a break from Seahawks stuff for just a few minutes here to talk about the Huskies, and isn't it nice to actually have a competent team to discuss for a couple minutes here? Washington Huskies playing their final regular season game of the year and final regular season game in the Pac 12 ever tomorrow at 1 p.m. So, first of all, obviously, I will be live streaming this game tomorrow. Live stream kicks off at 1. I'll put it up a little bit later, and it'll go until the game ends, probably around 4:30 or 5. And we're going to have fun. We're going to have a great time. Obviously, I know some people who watch my videos are also Cougars fans. And if you want to come by from that perspective as well, of course, there's no real issue with that. And we're going to have a great Apple Cup. Technically, this is the final Apple Cup, but I do know that there's been an agreement reached where the Cougars and Huskies are going to continue to play each other for the next, I think it's 4 years after this one. So that's kind of cool. But this is, by some definition, the final actual Apple Cup. So obviously, this game means two very different things for these two teams. Washington State is just trying to make a bowl game. They might make it even if they lose, but given they're on such a cold streak, which was finally broken up by the Colorado game, given the fact that most of their wins came early in the season, I think they need to win this game to be bowl eligible. And Washington obviously is playing for a Pac 12 championship, a playoff berth, etc., etc., etc. So it's two teams in very different places. But that doesn't change the fact that this game, it can't be taken lightly. Now, I say that, but I am really hoping that we get a breather from the stressful Huskies games of the last month and a half. The Huskies have not had a game even approaching easy in a while. So I'm hoping that this game can be the one where they actually are up ahead by several scores in the fourth quarter and we all get to just kind of relax and just appreciate the fact that the team has completed a undefeated regular season, etc., etc. I'm hoping that it goes that way, even though I'm aware that the nature of this game should not be taken easily. But this is an opportunity to finally have a more normal win for the Huskies. The Cougars are not good. The Cougars fooled us at the beginning of the season. They won several games, including games against good teams. Like they beat Wisconsin. Not that Wisconsin's great, but they're a pretty good team. They beat, I think they beat Oregon State. They actually looked like they were really building to something, and that the final Apple Cup ever might actually be between two juggernauts. But then the rest of the Cougars, other than Cam Ward, suddenly remembered that they kind of suck. And that's basically been the story for these Cougars. They have a quarterback who I really like. I'm a Cam Ward fan. I think that he is an intriguing pro prospect as well as being a very good college quarterback. I like his pocket presence. I like the way he maneuvers in the pocket. I think he can make a lot of throws. He doesn't have a cannon arm, but he has a decent arm. Um, I like him a lot, but that team, they have not surrounded him with the most primo of talent, and he has three receivers that are above, I want to say, 750 receiving yards, and I don't think any of them are above 1,000, and they're probably not going to get there, especially if they don't play a bowl game. So that kind of tells you the story there. They have capable players, but they're not really good players. They're not special players. They're not standout players. So this Cougars team is just kind of a one-man show. And you see those games where Cam Ward has like 450 yards of offense and the Cougars still get blown out because they don't have a great offensive line, they don't have running backs, they really can't run the ball. They have one of the worst rushing attacks in the country. I think it's like less than 3 yards a carry. And they don't really have a defense either anymore. At one point, it looked like they did, but their defense really kind of deteriorated. Jaden Hicks is a good player. I like Jaden Hicks at safety, but other than that, they're thin. They don't really have a lot going on there to brag about. So it's a team that really was being carried by one good quarterback for a little bit there, and eventually it just couldn't keep up. It broke down, and you've gotten the results you've gotten for the last couple months here, where they lost 6 games in a row at one point before finally getting off the schneid courtesy of Colorado. And Colorado's in a similar spot to Washington State at times, it feels like. They have a few good players, but the core of their roster is just awful. And that's kind of where the Cougars are. So, um, looking at this game, obviously, in terms of just pure roster talent and coaching talent, it should be a pretty easy win. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it will be. Like I said, there is some rivalry stuff going on here. Washington State is very. I know they're unhappy about the way things have ended here in the Pac 12. I know that they're unhappy along with Oregon State. Both those schools are really unhappy with the way things are going with the Pac 12. The fact that they've kind of been left behind in the conference, just sitting there watching everybody else scatter around, and they don't really know what they're going to do. So that could bleed over into this matchup. Don't be surprised if the Cougars give us their best shot because of that. But at the end of the day, when you take a look at our players and their players, our schemes and their schemes, our coaches and their coaches, it's not much of a match. And I think the Cougars can put up some points on us. I do think that Cam Ward is going to put up some big yards, and he's going to find some points at some point. However, I can't imagine that defense doing anything to stop us. So it's probably going to be a very high scoring Apple Cup. Maybe the Cougars get into like the 30s, but Washington could get into the 50s or 60s. And that's kind of what I'm feeling. I think that you're looking at something like 55 to 38 or something in that vein. And that would be a great way to end the Apple Cup series. And when I say end, of course, you guys get what I mean. The thing that's going to be really compelling in this game, I think, couple things. Johnson is 121 yards short of 1,000 yards on the season, and this is a guy who was barely playing at first. So if Dylan Johnson can get 121 rushing yards to get up to 1,000 on the year, that'd be a cool achievement for a guy who was an afterthought to start the season. And I think Polk is like 47 receiving yards away from 1,000. And if he gets there, that means we have another season with 2 receivers with over 1,000 receiving yards, which has not happened very much in school history. So those 2 milestones would be cool to hit, even though we're probably going to get more games to hit those milestones anyway, but it's cool to do it in the regular season. Now, I think the important thing, however, is Jalen McMillan. He played a tiny bit a couple weeks ago, stayed on the field, didn't re-aggravate himself. Good news. He played more last week against Oregon State, but he didn't catch any passes, dropped a couple, but he stayed healthy, stayed on the field, was able to, at the very least, get out of that game clean. So we're going to continue to ramp things up. And in this game, the last game before the Pac-12 championship game, the key thing is, can he actually make contributions? Can he actually catch the ball and do some productive things? That's going to be the real key here, because this is his last opportunity to get ramped up before the probable, not guaranteed, but probable Oregon rematch. And I believe to beat Oregon in the Pac-12 title game, we need Jalen McMillan actually being an asset, not just on the field in body, but not in spirit, but we need him in body and spirit on the field. So if Jalen McMillan can at least do some stuff in this game, that's going to be big for my confidence going into the Pac-12 title game, because I don't believe the team that we've seen over the last month and a half can beat Oregon on a neutral field. I just don't. They have entered a new plane of existence since they lost to us. And Washington, as if anything, they've kind of regressed. But if Jalen McMillan is back at full strength the way he was last year, this offense might become so unstoppable they can beat Oregon anyway. So that's really what I want to see. I want to see Jalen McMillan go out there and produce. It doesn't have to be a huge game, but I want to believe that he can play well enough to make an impact on Oregon, because that impact could make all the difference. Other than that, I'd love to see the defense shut down the Cougars' offense, because I mean, I know that offense is limited. They have a quarterback and not that much else. But the way things have been going lately, I'm prepared for, at the very least, them to challenge us a little bit. And yeah, take a deep breath for this one. Hopefully the team is able to. Hopefully we're able to kind of use the fourth quarter to ease things back in. Um, Real quick note, by the way, I don't think Asa Turner is going to come back anytime soon, so I've kind of abandoned the optimism that I had that he would get back in time for the Pac-12 title game. But the McMillan thing is more important anyway. So let's hope he gets involved in this game plan a little bit. I don't want to go into the Pac-12 title game with Jalen McMillan in the starting lineup with him not having caught a pass in 3 months. All right, so bow down to Washington. Let's get this Apple Cup. Let's end the series with the trophy in Washington. You know the Cougars would love nothing more than to ruin our undefeated season with their final Apple Cup appearance. True Apple Cup appearance, anyway. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bow down to Washington. See you guys in stream tomorrow, and just take care of business, man. Just take care of business. This is a nice breather after all the really tough games we played lately, but you actually have to execute to make it the breather that it is on paper. See you guys later.